ChaseWins.com coming to you for Wednesday, the 26th of August. It's still early Tuesday night. It's only about, well, it's not even 9 o'clock yet, but I'm doing this video early for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to make sure I get you a free play, but I'm flying out early, 5 a.m. in the morning, so I have to be up before 3, and so need to get some rest now, but I'll be landing early as well. That way I can finish out the day's card, get it out there. There's a lot of good action on Wednesday. There's good action on the West Coast. There's good action on the East Coast. There's good action all across the board. Clevenger gets to come back after they had their little shutdown, and then he was optioned on the 14th because he broke curfew. So he gets to come back and get to pick up where he left off. So there's a lot of good action out there. But I wanted to make sure I got you a free play. I don't have any recap to go over yet because only one game is even nearing the end, and that was my free play, which I'd make that play 1,000 times over. There's already 6 runs. They're going into the 7th inning now, but they've left a lot of runners stranded on both sides, and it doesn't look like that's slowing down. So they better get some across the plate, but if it does lose, it is what it is. Not going to harp on it. We haven't lost back-to-back freebies. We don't lose freebies often, so if it is a loss, we'll move on from it, and we'll pick one up for Wednesday. But what we'll do is for Thursday's free play, we'll just go in and, and recap double days like we do whenever we have to miss a day or do a video like this or something. So no recap to go over. Nothing really special to talk about. We do have some discounts going on. Patrick's got the remainder of his NASCAR season on sale for $199, so make sure you go pick that up. And then I was going to wait until next week to do a discount on MLB, but you can get the remainder of MLB season through the World Series. That's all premium and daily top plays that we have in Major League Baseball for only $500. So you're actually going to get an extra week of baseball for that price instead of me waiting a week to discount it down to that. Obviously, if there is a game of the week, month, or year, which there will be a game of the year in Major League Baseball at some point this season, I bet money on it. Don't know when it'll be, but there will be one. Obviously, things like that are separate. Those are a separate purchase unless you are on a 1-year all-access pass. But in saying that, you do get all premium and daily top plays. $500 gets you the rest of the season through the World Series. So let's get on a free play. Now, again, told you there's a lot of good action. There's a lot of games that don't have lines yet. So out of the ones that do have lines, there's just one that I think is an overreaction. One that I think that there's so many things not being taken into consideration, and I think that we're getting a gift with this line. Now, another reason I'm doing it now, this video, instead of, in the morning in the car or walking through an airport or something like that, is because I think this line will change. I think some smart money will come in and make this line go higher. But right now, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time, Detroit, Michigan, you've got the Cubs and the Tigers going off for the Game 3 in this little interleague series that they've got going on. And the Cubs are laying $1.40. Now, the first thing when I saw this line, I'm like, okay, why is it $1.40? And, I try to get into the odds makers' heads and figure out why they're coming up with this line. And the only thing that I can see is that it's an overreaction because of Lester's last start where he gave up 8 runs. But keep in mind, go back and look at that game. It still went in the Cubs' way, but the problem with Lester that game wasn't that he pitched bad, but the cutter, which has always been one of his better pitches. It's always been one of his top 3 pitches in his arsenal back from his rookie days all the way to now. That cutter has been horrible this year. Now, in his second start of the year, he did away with the cutter after the 2nd inning. And he was like, it's not working. I'm not going to keep forcing it. And he stuck to fastballs and changeups. Or fastballs and, changeups, curveballs. But he left the cutter out of it. But then, of course, in his third start, he brings it back. Which, again, I don't want him to not have it, but it wasn't working, and he kept working at it all game, trying to get that clip back that he has with that pitch, and he never got it. Look at every run that he gave up, any long ball, any double, any home run, because he gave up a couple of homers too. It was all off those cutters he was trying to throw. So I don't know that David Ross is going to allow his pitching manager and that staff to bless John Lester to still try it. Now, again, Lester's one of those veterans that you can't really tell him what to throw. I mean, he's been I mean, he's been through it. He's a multi-time champion. He's not somebody you can go tell how to pitch. He knows what he's doing. But where we get the benefit of this David Ross management situation really is going to come into play in games like this, because not only was he a player just a few short years ago, not only did he play for the Cubs, but he was a part-time catcher. And who did he catch for? Exclusively John Lester. So he knows John Lester as good as he knows himself. So he's being able to look at him saying, look, man, this isn't working. So if anybody on the face of the earth could talk John Lester out of throwing this pitch, or when to lay off, or when to do whatever, it would be the man that called the pitches for him to win a World Series for Chicago. So I'm confident that whatever adjustment needs to be made, whether that be leaving the cutter out of it, deciding that we'll try it for the first couple of innings, and if it doesn't work, we lay off, or maybe, just maybe, the work that Lester has been doing in his bullpen sessions the past couple of days, maybe he's getting it back. We don't know. There's rumors going around that he was pitching it well, but I wasn't in Detroit. I don't know. So I think that this is an overreaction, him giving up so many runs, to him having the ERA that he does, which is like a 5. But if it wouldn't have been for that one game, and it wouldn't have been for that cutter, his ERA would be just south of 3. Because before that, John's been on point. Now again, how many times have I preached? When John's on, he is the elite of the elite. And when he's off, he's off. Problem with John is, when he's off, it's usually not just a bad pitching session. He gives up some home runs, which can be very dangerous when you're giving up multi-run homers. But again, when you see that, how often does it come at Wrigley more so than on the road? A lot more at Wrigley. When you get into these more wide-open ballparks, your Fenways, Comerica's, Old Turner Field in Atlanta, Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, even down in Miami, shitty ballpark that is. Actually, it's not a shitty ballpark. It's actually very beautiful. It's just strange and I don't like it. Coors Field. You get these wide open spaces, and Coors Field was not a good example because balls go out of there just by bunting them. But Petco is another one. When you get these wide open spaces, even when John's somewhat off, he doesn't give up the long ball very easily. A lot of flyouts, a lot of pop outs, and their outfield's one of the best in baseball. They know how to shift. They know how to adjust. They know how, if you're not hitting it clear out of the park, don't expect to have them drop between center and right fielder and, drop down for a double. It just doesn't happen against the Cubs very often. They're a good road team. They've proven since the beginning of the season that they are still one of the top teams in the National League. Talent-wise, we all knew it was there. They just haven't played very well the past couple of seasons. But with this new pitching staff still trying to find their rhythm within the bullpen, how they're going to lay them out, what their schedule is going to be, I think that's been the main problem within the bullpen. The bullpen's nothing special, but if you look at each individual reliever and closer, they're a lot more talented than the numbers show and than what the product that you've seen. I think that they're still trying to work out how they're going to piece these guys together going forward. The prospects they have are great. They still have some of the best relievers in the National League Central. They're trying to find their identity here. The starting pitching for the Cubs is still amongst the best in baseball. I mean, with Hendricks, Lester, Quintana's now back. Now, he's working out of the bullpen for now, but he'll be back into the starting rotation soon. This team is a team that can make a deep run into the postseason if they figure out their bullpen identity. The beautiful thing is I don't think it's going to be figured out by Wednesday night, but you have Detroit going up. Their bullpen, there is no identity. They suck. They're worse than the Cubs bullpen by a long shot. And you've got Fulmer going in. Now, Fulmer's nothing to brag about on any day. And the sad thing is most people think that, okay, Casey Mize is going to be the face of that franchise's pitching staff. We all know that. But people consider Boyd to be the face of it right now. He's not. Fulmer is, which says a lot because he's horrible. You look at his ERA. His ERA is just south of 10. It's like 9.5 something. It's horrible, right? Now again, can't really say a lot. He doesn't even have a decision on the year yet. His strikeout ratio is very low. He's only got 10 strikeouts for the year, but Lester doesn't have too many more. He's only got 17. Lester's given up 7 home runs. But if you look at Lester's ERA, his WHIP is below 1, or below 1.1, which is incredible. It's over 2 for Fulmer. That's worse than his ERA. Most people don't even consider the WHIP. That's where you really get down to the nitty-gritty of what this pitcher does on a night-to-night basis. That's among the worst in baseball. It's the second worst in the game of baseball right now. Now, I don't know how long Fulmer's going to go in. I don't think he touches the 4th inning. Maybe that's their MO. Maybe they use him as a spot starter. Get him in. But you don't want Fulmer going in with as frustrated as he gets to face the top half of that Cubs lineup. And Ross knows it. That's what's beautiful about it. So when you have your leadoff people and you have a Javier Baez that'll swing for the hills no matter who's throwing at him. And what's beautiful is the velocity for Fulmer keeps going up. He's got pitches like clipping 96 miles an hour consistently. His command is horrible. So even though his velocity keeps ticking up, it's counteracted by the command going down. Plus, you get, if Lester's having an off night, that wide open ballpark, I don't think they're going to be able to go yard. Right now, obviously this can change because we still got, just under 24 hours before game time. The wind off of the river right there in Detroit is going to be blowing wind in. We hope that it stays that way. It's not going to be enough to prevent home runs, but it's going to make it a little more difficult. I just think with the offensive production we know the Cubs can do versus what we know that the Tigers can't do, the pitching matchup as far as starting pitching is night and day. Even if Lester's having an off day, it can be night and day. That's another beautiful thing. The Cubs don't want to rely on the bullpen for very long in this game. Usually, if this was at Wrigley, Lester has a bad few innings, he's gone. It's bullpen here on out, which is not a recipe for success. But even if he's having an off night, hits are being made off of him. Maybe some runs are across the plate. I think that the run support will be there for Lester to keep the lead, to have that little cushion. I think that the confidence will be there. And I think that'll allow Lester to go deeper into the game. If Lester could touch the 7th inning of this game, and they could go with closer status, not relievers, but closers for the remainder of it, and just kind of let Thursday be what it is, I think the Cubs have a shot to win this game and win it comfortably. 140 is an overreaction based on Lester's last game. They're giving the Tigers too much credit. They're obviously not taking into an account Fulmer, what he is. So the bullpen is thinking that Fulmer's going to be a spot starter. You're only going to have to deal with that for an inning. And it may very well be. But right now, based on every bit of information that I have and following this series very closely over the last 2 days, no one else is in a position to come in and start in the 2nd or 3rd. So you don't want to turn it over to one of the worst bullpens in baseball that early, do you? You wouldn't think so. So I just think that right now this line's going to go up with more information that comes out. If my mindset, if what I'm thinking, pans out to be 100% true, I don't see the Tigers having anything to back them up other than sheer luck. This is baseball. Anything can happen. The Tigers could go in tomorrow and Fulmer could hit a no-hitter and they could win 10-0. But when you look at numbers and you look at real facts and you look at true statistics, there's nothing, and I mean nothing about this game that favors the Tigers in any way, shape, or form other than they're at Comerica. Which you tell me one time in the last 3 years that Comerica's meant anything to that team. Doesn't matter. They're still the worst team in the game of baseball. The Cubs are still amongst the top 10 easily. You could argue that they're in the top 5. You could argue they're the best in their division. You could argue that they're, second best in the National League because they are not better than the Dodgers. Nobody is. But that's a big, big difference between what you could argue for the Tigers. So at under $1.50, I'm taking my chances with the Cubs. And if they lose and they get smoked, it is what it is. I'll gladly take that loss because there's just no way that I could back the other side on this one. Take me being a Cubs fan out of it. All of you should know by now that my heart is the last thing that I ever let, bring into an investment, period. But there's just no, I mean, take that out of it. There's just nothing that I could use to back the Tigers with. And if nothing else, the Cubs are worth the risk based on how cheap we can get it. Because I've done the numbers, and every bit of information that's out right now, the Cubs should have opened up 180 favorites. 180, guys. 180. Now, again, that could change. It could get pushed all the way up to 180 for all we know. But right now, I'll take $1.40 on the Chicago Cubs all day long. Mark your starting pitchers as Fulmer and Lester. If the pitchers change, the bet will be canceled and we will lay off the game completely. So make sure you mark those starting pitchers. But your free play is the Chicago Cubs minus 140 on the money line. I've got 3 more plays that I'm already looking at, so I'm going to look at them for a little while longer. One, if the line comes out the way that I hope that it does, and bullpen and pitching and everything line up the way that I want to, we could have a Major League Baseball top play on Wednesday as well, but that remains to be seen. So I love you guys. I will see you back on Thursday. Make sure you go jump on one of those packages. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, chase@chasewins.com. Please be patient with me because, I am traveling on Wednesday, and I will be getting to emails as quickly as I can throughout the day, but most important is making sure that the plays get out to everyone. I love you guys. I'll see you back for Thursday. Cubs moneyline minus 140. Let's go kill another day. See you guys.